Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play this video and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that are being done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
Hello everyone, I'm Detective Richard Encinas, Public Information Officer for the Mesa Police Department. This critical incident community briefing will provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting. You are about to see relevant video footage and learn about evidence and police procedures related to this case so you can better understand what happened. Mesa Police Department conducts thorough use of force investigations. The video will not join the law. We will be showing others the
some of this.
And
in 2022, Mesa Police Sergeant Chuck
strongly advised, especially for young children and sensitive viewers.
Hello, I am Sergeant Chuck Trapani with the Mesa Police Department. On March 22, 2022, Mesa police officers working a violent crime reduction project located a stolen motorcycle in the area of 600 South Grand in Mesa. While observing the stolen motorcycle, officers witnessed a rider take off on the motorcycle heading south towards the city of Chandler. A short time later, a fully marked Mesa Police Patrol Tahoe initiated a traffic stop on the motorcycle. The motorcycle failed to yield to the police officer and fled the scene. The Mesa police helicopter is overhead and followed the motorcycle from the air. The police helicopter crew observed the motorcycle stop in a trailer park located in the area of 300 North Ithaca in Chandler.
So, rotary wing assets are awesome. Unfortunately, it's only the bigger cities that can really afford them. They are, I don't want to say they're a money pit, but they're expensive as shit. The aircraft itself alone, that is a price tag in and of itself. Then, on top of that, is the pilots to fly the thing. You got to have more than one pilot, right? So let's say, you want this helicopter to run day and night time and then work weekends as well. So, you take a normal person's schedule, 40-hour work schedule or whatever, you've got to have enough people to accommodate all those different shifts and to make sure that, you're not working people a bunch of overtime. So that's going to be multiple pilots just to run one helicopter and their salaries. So a pilot is going to be someone who has some unique training and some unique skill set. So obviously, they're not going to work for peanuts, right? Like, they're not going to work for nothing. They're going to get paid for those skill sets that they have. There's just not that. You just can't open up fucking applications for, hey, you want to be a pilot? There's a lot that goes into making a person a pilot. So yeah, they're going to have higher salaries. So you got the price tag of the airframe itself, the price tag of all the pilots to run the damn thing, and then the price tag of the maintenance crew people, or even if you don't have your own maintenance shop and everything to do it, the contract service to do that. So maintaining an aircraft is not like maintaining a car. You can't take a regular car mechanic and put them in front of a helicopter and they be able to do the same shit. It's just not going to work. And then, not just those people working on it, but the parts that go on that helicopter as well. So you may have a fleet of Ford Explorers and Dodge Chargers, and you can find parts all day long with them. You can get on Amazon and find parts for a Ford Explorer. It don't even have to be something that is made by the Ford Motor Company. It could be some aftermarket thing built by someone else that still works on that Ford vehicle. I'm pretty sure you can't get on Amazon and find fucking aircraft parts. I could be wrong, but I kind of doubt it. So the parts themselves are expensive as shit. And then the fuel to run the things. So all of those, you add those up, that's a lot of money. And then some of the specialty shit that goes on these helicopters, like the thermal imaging camera, the mapping software that does an overlay on the screen so you see what road and shit you're on, like all that's super expensive as well. So being able to have just one helicopter is a big price tag, and only the bigger cities can afford that. But it's nice. It's great to be able to have an aerial asset like that, to be able to follow someone in the air, and they have no idea that they're being followed. So this dude was followed to this trailer park, and he was sitting there, which you'll hear him say on the radio that he's just sitting there. He probably has no idea that he's being watched by this air crew. Probably no clue whatsoever. And so he probably was legitimately taken by surprise when the ground units were directed into where he was at, and they rolled up on him. He was probably like, oh shit, like surprised. So that's the nice thing about having aerial units. The downside is only so many places across the nation have them, because they are such an expensive fucking thing to have.
Directed Mesa police units to that location. Here's a radio transmission from the Mesa Police helicopter crew.
And he is away, field you about that area, you got it? He's just going at a high rate of speed, continuing southbound. He's continuing southbound on Hamilton. Through Galveston. He's just shy of Chandler Boulevard. He made a eastbound turn on the small side street. Continuing eastbound. And he's making a southbound turn. There's a lot of traffic northbound in a trailer park. Your next right. And he's sitting on the bike. So continue and make your next right. It's right there. He's right in front of you.
As officers arrived on scene at about 8:17 p.m., contact was made with the motorcycle rider, later identified as 27-year-old Alberto Noriega of Mesa. Upon contact, one officer deployed his less lethal beanbag shotgun, striking Noriega, causing him to fall to the ground. A second officer deployed his taser to further incapacitate Noriega. After the first taser cycle, you can see Noriega's right hand lift his shirt, revealing what appears to be a handgun in his waistband. Here is video footage of one of the officer's body-worn cameras.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Do not reach! Do not reach! Put your hands up!
Officers gave Noriega multiple verbal commands not to touch the handgun in his waistband. A second taser deployment is administered at this time. While still under the power of the taser, Noriega moves his left hand towards the handgun in his waistband. This is when the officer-involved shooting occurs. Three officers almost simultaneously fire their duty weapons at Noriega, striking him multiple times. Here's additional footage from the body-worn camera.
He's got a gun! He's got a gun! Gun in the waistband! Gun in the waistband! Gun in the waistband! Yeah, 998. He's got a gun! He's got a gun! Gun in the waistband! Gun in the waistband! Gun in the waistband! Yeah, 998.
After the officer-involved shooting occurred, officers performed life-saving measures on Noriega. However, he was later pronounced deceased at the scene.
Yeah, that's good.
This is when the officer-involved shooting occurs. Three officers almost simultaneously. There's video footage of one of the officers' body-worn cameras.
All right, so he's already been popped with the less lethal shotgun. So it sounds like as soon as they roll up on him, they start doing work. And they already know that the first time around when they got out and did a stop on him, he took off. So it seems like to me they're just going to remove that possibility by as soon as they get out, fucking his shit up. And that's the right thing to do. He's already shown that he's a runner, and him being on that motorcycle, taking off at high speeds the way he is a danger to the public. He is a danger to people on the roadway when he is operating that bike at such high speeds. So in order to protect the public from him running again, as soon as they get out, the less lethal shotgun gets deployed. Now, that's just what it appears to be to me. I mean, there could be a time frame involved of where they jump out and they start yelling at him to get down and he refuses. And then they deploy this stuff, and this is where we see the video. Or it could be they just jumped out the damn car and yelled police and then fired the beanbag. If that's what happened, I'm fine with that. Like I said, this dude has already shown that he's not going to cooperate, and so why give him that extra time? Why give him that extra ability by yelling at him, trying to get him to comply, and him formulate a plan in his head and then execute that plan and drive away again? So there's times where I think that there's too much talking and that there's no more sense in talking anymore, and you just got to do the thing. You got to use force. And I think they're doing the right thing. If I'm right in what I'm seeing or thinking I'm seeing, if they just roll up, jump out, and immediately start using force. If that's what's going on, I fully support that. So, beanbag has been deployed, and now this officer is going to deploy taser. He's got the Taser X7, so not X7, it's just called Taser 7. The Taser 7 is the latest taser device from Axon. It has 2 cartridges inside of it, so you get to shoot the gun twice. The cartridges themselves are designed a lot different than previous cartridges. Well, I'll skip on the exact different details between it and the other ones, but just know that it does fire twice. It has 2 separate cartridges in it, and there's some unique things about it that make it different than the other ones and a little bit better than the other ones, but it still operates in the same similar way as the other ones do. So he'll fire the taser once, and I think it's either masked by the sound of another impact munition being fired, or it's just the way the audio picks it up. At first, when I first watched it, it seemed like only he fired the taser once, but I'm pretty sure he's fired it twice, because at a different angle, you can actually see 3 different taser wires coming out of the gun itself. So that obviously tells me that 2 cartridges had been fired, but it's not 100% clear to me when that second one's fired. I think it's fired right after the first one, but it just sounds different, and I'll replay it here for you.
Show me your hands! 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 Show me your hands!
So again, it sounded like he fires that first one, and then you hear another pop, but that other pop sounds more like the 12 gauge in the background being fired. But it could be the taser itself being fired. It's just the way the audio and everything picks it up. It just sounds a little bit different. It's very, very short time, but you can see when he fires the first time,
Show me your hands!
he makes hit, but the guy is still moving around some, right? He's still able to do this little crunch move right here and raise up. You got his arms out. You can see one of the probes hit right here in the leg. And that's kind of the nice thing about the newer Taser 7 is these probes are fucking fat. Like, they are huge looking. And that's because the wires are inside of it. So you can actually see on camera where these damn things hit a lot easier than you could the older Taser units. But you see him moving around, and then when he does another cycle,
Show me your hands!
then you see him flatten out, and you see this arm stiffen up. This is the classic visual indication that a person is under the effects of NMI, neuromuscular incapacitation. This is when you know the taser's working. You should see a person stiffen up like cardboard there, and not be able to to lift themselves up or move around or do anything. They just stiffen up and lay there while the taser is giving its cycle. So I'll back it up and you can see that again.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
So very briefly, he was still moving around, and then what I think is him firing the taser the second time, he gets better probe placement, and the guy goes under the effect of NMI. So on this
gun in his waistband.
Freeze frame right here.
Here's video footage of a shirt revealing what appears to be a handgun.
You can see two probes that are pretty close to each other right there. And see if we can see it in this one.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands!
It's hard to tell, but there's two probes that are pretty close together on each other. I don't think that at this distance those two probes are from the same cartridge. I think those two probes are from from two separate cartridges. It's just where they kind of landed in the same area. I think what's happened is that first cartridge that fired, probably his jacket caused a clothing disconnect, or maybe it went into the backpack. And then, of course, the other one went lower into the leg. The second cartridge that fired, I believe, of course, its top probe hit in his upper torso, where it needed to hit to be able to get an above and below the belt impact. And that's the key to taser deployments, is having the probes spread apart. So when your probes are too close together, it doesn't allow you to achieve NMI. It's basically the same as taking the taser gun itself and ramming it up into a person and arcing it. You're just delivering pain at that point. Those points of contact are too close. When the probes are spread out, that's when you are able to achieve neuromuscular incapacitation. So that's the beautiful thing about the newer taser models that have the two-shot capability. You fire one cartridge. If you don't get the desired effect, you have a follow-up shot to be able to fix that problem, hopefully. With your older taser units, you fire that first cartridge. Your only options at that point are to close the distance, get closer to them, and ram the gun into another point in their body that's away from those probes to complete the circuit. It's called follow-up drive stun, or reload. You take the old cartridge off, put a new one on, and refire. Obviously, that takes a lot longer than just pulling the trigger a second time. So that's the great thing about the newer tasers, is the two-shot capability. Taser, fun little fact, they did have one unit called the X3 that had 3 cartridges on board. You could fire that thing 3 separate times. It was large. It was very large. And it didn't last very long because of its size and everything. But that's a hell yeah capability right there, having 3 shots. I wish they would revisit that, and especially with the way they've designed the for some reason I want to keep calling it X7. With the way they've designed the Taser 7, I certainly think that they could probably get a good 3-shot taser out there in a smaller package than what the X3 was in. But anyway, achieved NMI on this guy, and you can see it by the classic stiffening up pose here.
Do not reach! Do not reach! Put your hands up!
And you can see, so when you hear the taser cycle end, his body composure changes. It goes into a relaxed state. It's not stiff. And then he hits it again, and you see him stiffen back out again.
Do not reach! Do not reach! Put your hands up!
Officers gave Noriega multiple verbal commands not to touch the handgun in his waistband. A second taser deployment is administered at this time. While still under the power of the taser, Noriega moves his left hand towards the handgun in his waistband. This is when the officer-involved shooting occurs. 3 officers almost simultaneously fire their duty weapons at Noriega, striking him multiple times. Here's additional footage from the body-worn camera.
He got a gun! He's got a gun! Gun to the waistband! Gun to the waistband! Gun to the waistband! Yeah, 998. Gun to the waistband! Yeah, 998.
Well, he fucked around and found out.
He got a gun! He's got a gun! Gun to the waistband! Gun to the waistband! Gun to the waistband!
Yeah, so in that moment where he's under NMI, it's not likely that he's able to do anything, but that taser's going to shut off at some point. You can still, while a person's on the ground, one of the wires can break and you can have a disconnect, and then boom, they're able to get into that fight. The way they're positioned and everything, they're not going to be able to, get to a new position. That guy with the taser is kind of stuck where he's at. You move around, like I said, those wires can break pretty easily. So it's not like they have the option of trying to reposition or anything like that. This dude has, while on the ground, and when that taser turned off, he reached for his waistband for that gun, and then that officer had to deploy another cycle on that taser. So when the taser only goes for 5 seconds, and then it shuts off, and then it doesn't completely shut off, but it stops cycling. It goes for 5 seconds, it stops, and then you got to pull the trigger or hit the arc button again to make it deliver another cycle. So you could see that in that short amount of time from where the taser went off, he was very easily and quickly able to get his hand down into his waistband to get a hold of that gun. So when that cycle ends, he could very quickly pull the gun up out of the waistband and then start shooting. So these officers, he gave these officers no option. They tried to bring the situation under control with the use of less than lethal devices, but he's the one who chose to reach for that gun. Now we're going to find out that the gun itself is not real; it's a fake. I think it's either an airsoft or a BB gun. But he turned this deadly by doing that, by reaching for that gun. This was not a accidental, I'm flailing around and I'm being tased and my hand accidentally raises the shirt some and then gets a hold of this grip on this gun. It's not like this was an accidental kind of thing. Like, he purposely made the move to grab that fucking gun. He knows it's fake. The officers don't know it's fake. They have no idea. But he knows it's fake. Why the fuck is he grabbing for this fake gun? Does he really, truly think that if he gets this gun out, he's going to scare him away and he's going to be able to run away and not get caught? Is he suicidal? Is he like, in the road for me, going away for a long time on the stolen bike, got prior charges, got other charges, something, whatever, it's time to check out. I have no idea. No idea what's going through his head, but it's unmistakable that he was making a conscious decision to grab this damn gun. So he has brought this shit upon himself.
Yeah, 998.
After the officer-involved shooting occurred, officers performed life-saving measures on Noriega. However, he was later pronounced deceased at the scene. During the course of the investigation, a handgun was located on Noriega. This handgun was later determined to be a replica semi-automatic style CO2 handgun. This is a stock...
Yeah, so I could take this photo and go to a local mall, local grocery store, somewhere where there's a bunch of people, and stop random people and ask them if this is a real gun or a fake gun. And many of them would have no clue. They wouldn't be able to tell the difference There would be some who would say, yeah, that's real. Even people who own guns, gun owners, will look at this and say it's real. Now, there's different types of gun owners. You got some gun owners who are just not gun people, but they own one gun. Yeah, a lot of them will probably say, yeah, that's real. Even people who own multiple guns and carry a gun concealed, they've gone through the concealed carry class and done all that. They could look at this and think, yeah, that looks real. There are police who you could stop out in public and show them the photo and be like, is this real or fake? And with their knowledge of firearms, their amount of hours of exposure to guns, some of them are going to say, yeah, that's real. Now, that's asking people in a cool, calm, collected state of mind, them looking at a photo and taking time to look at this photo and think about it and still come to the conclusion that, yeah, it looks real. Or the some who know their stuff can look at it and say, no, that doesn't look real at all because of the reflective sheen coming off the slide. It just looks like plastic. Or they know this, but someone owns this thing. Like, no, that's fake. I own one. Or they've come across something like this before. Like, no, that's fake. I've seen this before. That's, like I said, under cool, calm conditions, taking time, leisurely time to look at something to make that determination. In the heat of the moment, when it's do or die, life or death, you don't have that time to sit there and stare at that fucking thing and figure out whether or not it's real. You have to make a decision right then and there, and if you wait too long, you could die.
Photograph of the replica handgun Noriega was seen reaching for when officers attempted to take him into custody. At this point in the investigation, we know that 3 officers shot lethal rounds. 1 officer deployed a taser twice, and another officer deployed his less lethal beanbag shotgun, firing 3 beanbag rounds. The first officer, who shot 6 lethal rounds, has been with the department for 8 years. This is his first officer-involved shooting. The second officer, who shot 2 lethal rounds, has been with the department for 15 years. This is his 4th officer-involved shooting.
Damn.
The third officer, who shot 3 lethal rounds, has been with the department for 4 years, and this is his 2nd officer-involved shooting.
So, when you look at officer-involved shootings all across the nation, and I don't think there's any statistical things to back this up, but I suspect that the majority of the officers out there who've been involved in shootings, the majority of them are one-time occurrences. They're one and done. This is the first time they've been involved in a shooting. It's probably going to be the last time that they're ever involved in a shooting. There are agencies out there that it has been years since there has ever been a shooting for the agency. There's some agencies out there where they've never had a shooting. Now, granted, a lot of these places are in smaller areas, more rural areas, but even for, semi-larger places, the agencies just are not experiencing those occurrences. Like, agencies just aren't seeing a bunch of gunfights. Now you start getting into very large towns, very large cities, Los Angeles, New York, for example. Of course, that agency is going to experience more of those things. Now, even with those agencies experiencing more of those things, it's still a not likely thing where you're going to have one officer involved over the course of time in multiple different gunfights. So I think that this is kind of rare to have someone who's been involved in 4 shootings. Not so rare in the sense that, they're like only one of 2 people in the entire fucking country. I'm sure that, with all 50 states and all the, hundreds of different counties and stuff like that within those states, there's probably, more than, two people in this country who's been involved at least in 4 or more shootings. How many there are, I have no idea. Like I said, I don't think that any statistical data is kept like that. I don't think there's a report out there that says, hey, these many officers have been involved in 4 or more shootings or 5 or more shootings. Hey, here's this officer. He's the only officer in the country who's been involved in 10 shootings so far. Like, nothing like that exists. So I think it is a little bit rare for someone to be involved in that many gunfights. Not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying, hey, there's something wrong there. It could be, that person has been assigned to more shitty areas. Mesa could just be or Mesa could just be a shitty fucking town. Looking at their YouTube page, which is where I'm copying these videos from, they've got quite a few officer-involved shooting videos, and of course you got this one officer here. This is his 4th officer-involved shooting. So Mesa could just be a place that you might not want to visit. Nothing wrong with the officer. It's just the environment that officer's in. He's having to fight for his life, or she is having to fight for her life, whichever. But point I'm trying to make is that I think it's kind of rare to have someone have that many shootings under their belt, so to speak. I think the majority of officer-involved shootings are people who it's their first one and it's their one and done, because that's the normal for law enforcement. Actually, the normal for law enforcement is not to be involved in any shootings at all. The majority of police in this country go their entire career without ever having to shoot at anyone. When it comes to someone having this many officer-involved shootings, I certainly think that there is some training value there. I certainly hope that this person is invited to speak at different agencies within the area, or to go speak at the academy when classes are being done. It's one thing to have an officer who's been involved in one shooting, share their experience and talk about what's happened and everything. But I'd say it's something else to be able to hear from an officer who's been involved in 4 fucking shootings. The amount of experience, the knowledge from their experience that they would be able to share is something that I don't think that multiple one-timers would be able to give you. Like, there's just something, there's things that you would be picking up on from people who've been involved in that many things. Like, would you rather go listen to someone who's been in one fist fight their entire life, or would you rather go listen to someone who's been involved in 5 fist fights their whole life? There's going to be something that you can take away knowledge-wise from that person who's been involved in more stuff than someone who has not. Not saying that that person who's been only involved in one thing doesn't have anything of value to provide. I'm not saying that at all. They certainly do have something of value to add. Even the ones who haven't been involved in anything, teaching-wise, there's still stuff of value that they can add as well. But for someone who's quote-unquote been there, done that, I think they have a lot to be able to offer just from the insight alone of what they experienced those 4 different fucking times, and what their thoughts on things are, as far as like whether or not, hey, this training that I got really worked out. This is what works, or this is what I think could change to make things better. And me being involved in 4 gunfights, this is why I think this. So I think, like I said, I think they have a lot to offer in knowledge and education. So I'm hoping that in Mesa or in Arizona that this person is invited to go talk at events for law enforcement. Unfortunately, when it comes to stuff like this, it's kind of a closed community kind of thing. Only a handful of officers make their stories more public. The rest of them kind of keep it under wraps, because there's still that litness side of society. They can still, be gone after by the defendant's family or something like that, or they may think it's improper to do anything publicly about it and say anything about it, and potentially make a profit off of it. So I wish that whoever officer number 2 is would write a book or do a seminar publicly, because I would be really interested to hear what they have to say about those 4 shootings that they've been involved in and what they learned from those and what their takeaways from those are. So if you're officer number 2 and you watch this video, I'd love to hear from you.
Been with the department for 4 years, and this is his second officer-involved shooting. This officer-involved shooting is being fully investigated by the Chandler Police Department due to it occurring within their jurisdiction. As with all officer-involved shooting investigations, all the information and evidence in this case will...
Okay, so not much else to really say about this video. We got a guy driving around on a stolen bike, refusing to stop for police, fleeing, evading, and he reaches for a gun. Closed book as far as I'm concerned. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.